We're exposed to more negativity in 24 hours today than we were in our whole lifetime 25 years ago. Let me explain. Sensationalist stories form 95% of media headlines. Media reports with negative news or statistics catch 30% more attention. 63% of kids aged 12 to 18 say that watching the news makes them feel bad. People are 49% more likely to read something negative than positive. The fact you clicked on this video shows it's true. What's crazier is that one website lost 66% of its readers when it posted only positive stories for 24 hours. This video will show you how to deflect negative energy. Now, the reality is, negativity is everywhere. You experience it from the moment you wake up in your own mind all the way through to when you turn on the television, maybe when you're walking down the street, or if you're in a comment section on social media. You are bound to experience negativity. Of course, you can turn off the news, you can put your phone down, but generally, you cannot stop the influx of negativity coming your way. But what you can change is how long you dwell on it. One study was looking at how dwelling on negativity affected our positive behavior. In this study, 104 people were divided equally into two groups. The first group of 52 people was asked to write about a time when they were bored. The second group of 52 people were asked to write about a time they were wronged. After this, in the experiment, both of these groups were asked to help with an easy task. What the psychologists found was that the people that were wronged, they were 26% less likely to help with an easy task. Meaning when we dwell on negativity, not only do we feel it, we now are no longer able to extend kindness and support and help in the easiest or simplest of ways to others. Now, I'm sure when you see this, you start to recognize just how much our thoughts matter. And studies show that we're exposed to 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day, and 80% of those are negative, and 80% of those are repetitive. Let me give you an example. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you say is, I'm so tired. By the time it's 9 a.m. and you're having your morning coffee, you're thinking to yourself, how is it only 9 a.m.? I am so tired. It's the second time you've had that thought. It hits midday, lunch is gonna have to be late, you've got too much work on, you're thinking, I'm exhausted. Third time you've had that thought. You make it through to 6 p.m. You're thinking, I'm still gonna have to work a couple of hours. I'm so tired. I can't wait to get into bed. You've had that thought multiple times by now. And somehow at 10:37 p.m. at night, you get the courage to click next episode on your favorite show, and you end up staying up late. Now that cycle repeats day after day, week after week, month after month, sometimes year after year. What we need is an intervention, a mental intervention and a pattern interrupt in order to add to that thought. The next time you have a thought like, I'm so tired, you want to create an if this, then that scenario. I'm so tired and I'll go to bed early tonight. I'm so tired and I'll cancel my plans this weekend. How can we turn that thought, accepting it and adding an action onto the end, which actually changes our experience of that thought? Now, we often talk about negative or toxic people, and this is something we experience on a daily basis. But I want to reframe that. It's negative energy and toxic energy that people often consume that makes them feel that they're carrying it. It's something that we wear, it's something that we carry. It's not who we are. Often we may carry negative or toxic energy into a space, into a room, into our home. It's not who we are. So I want to separate the two when we have this conversation to have it in a healthy way. We all know negative energy of complaining. Maybe you've complained, or maybe you experienced that from someone. It can be really draining, really heavy, really overwhelming when you're not looking for a solution, or the person complaining to you isn't looking for one either. And it's really important to check in with that person and actually give them an opportunity and ask them, are you looking for a solution? Is this something you'd like me to help with? It's a great way of interrupting their pattern and allowing them to proceed on another path that they may not have considered. Now, if you give advice without checking in, which is unsolicited, it could come across as upsetting to them, or it would just go over their head. Use the pattern interrupt as an opportunity to help them find a different path. The second type of negative energy we have, I call cancelers, right? It's like you say to someone, hey, you look great today. And they go, wait, did I not look great yesterday? And they are meaning it seriously. This idea that anything good you say, they find a bad thing to say to it. Oh, you've been doing really well at work recently. Oh yeah, last month wasn't that great, right? It's always followed up with trying to spotlight the negativity, finding a way to highlight what hasn't been going wrong, even if everything is on the right track. Now, for someone like that, it could be that they they truly don't see it, that they truly don't understand. And it's a really healthy activity if you're going through this to check in with yourself. Do this by asking 3 people at work or 3 of your friends and say, hey, I'd love for you to share with me what's a great quality that I have. What have I been doing really well recently? What's something that you think I've worked on that maybe I was struggling with before? It takes a lot of confidence to ask those questions or answer them when someone comes to you. But it's so important for us to actually honor our growth and to honor that we're moving in a positive direction. More often than not, I meet so many people who don't give themselves enough credit for the growth they've made, and therefore when other people notice it, they can't see it in themselves. The third are the casualties. This is where we think the world is against us and we blame everything on others. I'm sure you've done this. I know I've done this. I'm putting my hand up, and I know so many people who feel the same way. We're constantly pointing the finger, pointing the blame, not taking accountability. I'm sure you've had a friend who's called you up and done the same, and you're thinking in your head, wait a minute, what about your role in this? What's your responsibility? Now, that's a really tough conversation to have. You don't want to push that accountability onto someone. You want to give them the space to share their pain, and then to follow up and ask them, hey, what's something you can control about this, right? Casualties generally focus on what they can't control, what's within your scope that you could actually pivot or shift that will change your experience of this. Let's move away from what you can't control to what you can control. Now, we all know a critic, right? Maybe you even consider yourself one. But what I mean by critics in this regard is someone who criticizes every choice you make or the fact that you haven't made one. They criticize you because you don't think like them. They criticize you because you don't operate like them. They say things to you like, how could you ever do that? I could never consider doing that. It's almost like it makes you feel bad about yourself because they're projecting their values, what's important to them, onto you. In this scenario, what you have to recognize when you can't change them is what is your value? What is important to you? What is meaningful to you? We need to not internalize the projection that someone's throwing at us and recognize that it's a demonstration of what's important to them, not what's significant about us. Now, you'll mostly find commanders at work, people who pressurize you to succeed even though they know their own limits. They're the type of people that will always say to you, well, you could do more, you could improve at this, and at the same time, they'll say things to you like, oh, you never have time for me, you're always busy, when they're the one who are actually preoccupied. Oftentimes with this, I find that we're good at giving people the advice that we most deeply need, right? Have you ever had that where you're able to say the perfect thing to someone else, but you can't put it into practice? People often do that to us. And it's great for us to recognize when we're doing it to others. Number 6 are competitors. People who want to compete over everything. You say something, they've got to one-up you. They're constantly turning everything into a competition. And you're just sitting there going, hey, I didn't ask for this. I don't want to win. I don't want to lose. I just want to be me. And I find that this type of negativity, again, comes with acknowledging and recognizing that the person's dealing with their own insecurities. That person's dealing and challenged by their own need for putting you down to build themselves up. I think when you start to see philosophy in action in this way, when you start to see behind the scenes of what's going on in someone's mind, you get the ability to recognize, I don't need to internalize that. Now, this 7th one is probably the hardest one. People who act as if they're in an ownership with you rather than a partnership or a relationship. They almost feel like who you spend time with, what you do, how you spend your money is something where their opinion matters. This is a situation where we need to start taking strategic steps to remove ourselves if we're feeling like the control is getting more obsessive and more overly focused. I'm going to be making more videos about this subject, so make sure you look out for them. Now, if you're finding that you're spending a lot of time around people with these types of energy, one of the best things I can say, especially when you can't distance yourself, maybe you're living in the same space or you see someone every day at work, what I find is we have to change the ratio of our time. We have to make our time around negative energy 25% of our time and make our time around positive uplifting energy 75% of our time. Often it may not come in the form of hours, but in the form of quality and immersive experience. Are you allowing yourself to be surrounded by positive, impactful, uplifting energy that helps you beat that frequency and get out of it? The way to do that is something I call spot, stop, swap. I want you to spot and become aware of when you're experiencing negativity and it's starting to seep in. The second step is to stop and reflect. I want you to think about which one of the principles and insights I've shared today will actually be useful for you. And third, I want you to swap. I want you to shift into that and practice it. This will be almost like an actor rehearsing their line. We're almost relearning and retraining our mind to have this thought that we want to have, but initially we'll have to practice spot, stop, swap. Now, you're never going to be able to surround yourself with 100% complete positivity. You're not going to be able to make your whole life and your whole mind peaceful and incredible, because naturally every single day there'll be challenges thrown at you. What we're trying to do is find calm in the chaos, to find peace in the madness. We're not trying to remove chaos and madness completely from our lives, because that would be impossible. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new content that I'll be sharing on my channel. And I want to make sure that you share in the comments any topics, any themes, any subjects that you want me to make a video about. I can't wait to see them.